Bonsoir tout le monde, bienvenue à la conférence du groupe SND sur la jeunesse. Nous sommes très contents d'être à Strasbourg aujourd'hui, capitale européenne, et pour discuter de l'avenir de la jeunesse, car c'est une question sur laquelle on travaille et nous sommes très contents d'avoir nos invités aujourd'hui. Ça sera une occasion lors de cette deux grandes journées de High European Youth Event au Parlement européen de se retrouver entre progressistes pour discuter des politiques que nous voudrions suivre dans les années à venir. Et je vais passer la parole donc à Uta. Je m'appelle Peter, moi je suis hongrois. Uta, elle vient d'Allemagne et nous sommes ici pour modérer aujourd'hui et pour vous accueillir avec nos invités.
Thank you, Peter, and welcome to you all also from my side on behalf of the S&D Group. As Peter said, we are here to discuss with all of you, the young people here in this room, and of course also our young people online all across Europe. We hope that all of them are also now joining us. As Peter said, we have the European Youth Event in Strasbourg today and this weekend, and we as Socialists and Democrats wanted to engage with you today to discuss what you wish from the EU, what are your thoughts, your reflections, and of course also a ban on unpaid internships.
Donc là, juste quelques mots sur l'organisation de ce soir. Nous allons avoir 4 tables rondes où vous pourrez discuter avec nos invités, avec nos députés. Donc les tables rondes sont à côté, on va les présenter tout de suite et on vous présentera après nos invités aussi.
Just a quick word, we will have our discussion after the opening speeches, which we will have with our honorable guests in a minute, around round tables, around different topics, which we will spell out in a minute, here in the room, and then for you to choose on which one you want to be. There will always be an MEP and other partners, and of course then time to discuss. And for the online audience, we will of course stream also these discussions in the roundtable.
Et je suis très content d'accueillir ce soir João Albuquerque, qui est député européen du Portugal et qui était également le président des jeunes socialistes européens. Nous avons également Sophie Amalie Steyer, qui vient du Danemark, qui est secrétaire générale des jeunes socialistes européens. Bienvenue. Et également Céline Geisman, qui est conseillère municipale à la ville de Strasbourg, et également au nom du Parti socialiste. Donc bienvenue.
I will repeat in English so that everybody understands, also those watching us online. It's great to have our S&D MEP from Portugal with us, João Albuquerque, who has also been a president of YES in his youth. Then we have Sophie Amalie Stage. Stage in French means traineeship. So that matches very well with the topic we discussed today, who has just been elected as Secretary General of the Young European Socialists. Welcome, Sophie, and félicitations. And of course, somebody we already know from the past, and with great people, I think, also who have joined us today in the room, Céline Geisman, City Hall Councillor of Strasbourg. Merci, Céline, de nous avoir ici.
Je vais passer la parole à João. João, please.
Well, thank you very much to all. Welcome to this event. And first of all, allow me to apologize because it's not very polite to come to somebody's house and speak a different language. It would be much harder for me to speak in French under improvisation, but I hope everyone can understand. I can try to improvise some French, but in English it suits me a little bit better, and my brain melted a little bit because of this unexpected climate changed weather that is affecting Strasbourg. The reason why we are here is because, of course, we have 10,000 people in this city and 10,000 young people in Strasbourg, and we want to actually address what are the issues that concern young people. And when we look at the discussions that I've been having over the last few days, but also on engaging with different conversations throughout the recent months, we understand that social issues are at the core of the concerns that young people have in Europe. And as we usually say, Europe has to be social or there will be no Europe. One of the major concerns, and as Uta just very well pointed out, I'm not getting any younger, so I'm 36 years old, but I have been through, I can tell you, every sort of type of contract that can possibly exist. I've had 0-hour contracts when I was working as a moving company in Finland. I did 3 internships. I had precarious contract. I was self-employed. The only thing I never had is a definitive contract, I have to say. And I think this is a situation that affects many of you that are in this room and many of the young people that are throughout Europe that still have to face with this situation. And unpaid internships are definitely a plague that we need to eradicate from our society. The recent Eurobarometer showed that only 55% of young people that have an internship are paid. And only 32% have access to social protection and social benefits when performing an internship. So what we are trying to bring here is something that is very crucial to our policies and that we actually need your help to develop. As you know, this week, on Wednesday in Strasbourg, in the plenary, in the Parliament, we are going to have an important vote on a resolution that requires or that asks the Commission to legislate against unpaid internships. The resolution is non-binding, as you know, so we need to go a step further. What we are asking besides this, and I can tell you already that we want minimum wage for extracurricular internships. We will want stagiaires to have access to trade unions. We want them to have access to social protection and to social rights. But what we are asking as well is that the Commission presents a proposal to actually of a directive that actually can ban unpaid internships throughout Europe. We cannot have this to continue as exploitation of unpaid work when we know that the majority of internships that are being done and that are being performed are actual work that save a lot of money to the companies, whether it is on companies or on the public sector. I will leave you at that. It will be a huge pleasure to join you then afterwards and to discuss a little bit more in depth what are our proposals, what are some of the policies that we want to not only still approve until with the time that we have left, but also to come forward to you in the upcoming elections for 2024. We definitely need to have a strong social Europe in order to protect everyone. It's not the others that proclaim that they are doing this, it's us that are doing it in practice, pragmatic level, every day with policy. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Joao. Merci pour ces mots. Joao a bien expliqué que c'est le social qui est important et nous travaillons sur l'arrêt et interdiction des stages non rémunérés, comme vous l'avez entendu, et que le Parlement européen va voter sur cette question la semaine prochaine. Et donc c'est extrêmement important qu'on aille encore plus loin, car il faut que ce soit des règles contraignantes, ça c'est très très important, et que tous nos stagiaires, comme Joao l'a remarqué, 55% des stagiaires aujourd'hui en Europe ne reçoivent pas de salaire, et ça c'est inacceptable, ainsi que il faut qu'ils aient accès aux syndicats, il faut qu'ils puissent être protégés, il faut qu'ils aient de la sécurité sociale. Merci Joao pour ces remarques d'introduction, et on va passer la parole à Sophie.
Thank you very much. And I can also start with apologizing that I don't really speak French. I can say bonjour, and that's where we're at. So I think I will also do it in English. I don't expect any of you to prefer me to do it in Danish at least. So I would like to take some time to talk a little bit about why these kinds of events are so important, especially right now. We are the very first generation growing up more poor than our own parents were. That ultimately also means that we are a generation with less possibilities, with less opportunities, and less opportunities to become individuals in the end. The cost of living crisis is affecting all of us, of course, but we are the generation where we don't even have the opportunity to start our own savings account. We don't have an opportunity to go out and buy our first house, and we don't have the opportunity to make a basic financial stability in the very early times of our lives. And as some of you may have also experienced, a lot of people are asking, oh, how come the young generation has depression and all of them have anxiety at the moment? But I think what they are forgetting is that they have brought us into this world with so little opportunities. They have brought us into a world where we have climate crisis, we have housing crisis, and crisis after crisis that we haven't made, but generations before us have made. So this means that it's more important than ever that we are a strong, united youth, that we demand to be heard, that we demand that we are engaged into political development, that we engage ourselves into every aspect of the political scene in general. So I am also looking very much forward to sitting with you out at the table, hearing what you have to say, how you see the world should be. This is an opportunity for you to use your voice. So I really, really hope that all of you will take this opportunity and let us know all of your amazing ideas. Thank you.
Merci Sophie, merci beaucoup. Et merci d'avoir expliqué aussi bien que la jeunesse d'aujourd'hui, les jeunes aujourd'hui ont énormément de difficultés pour commencer leur vie professionnelle, pour ouvrir un compte, pour s'acheter un immobilier. Tout ça, c'est très très difficile. Et il faut aller même plus loin, ce que Sophie disait, car il faut également impliquer les jeunes dans la vie politique, dans toutes les étapes de la vie politique pour qu'ils soient actifs. Et nous voudrions aussi discuter de ça avec vous autour des tables rondes. Et without further ado, comme les Anglais disent, je passerai la parole à Céline Geisman. S'il te plaît, Céline.
Bonsoir à toutes et à tous, and maybe first, as a disclaimer, don't worry, Strasbourg is a European capital, so you can talk any language in Strasbourg. But je vais continuer en français pour un peu équilibrer tout ça quand même. Donc tout d'abord, je voulais vous remercier d'être venus si nombreux à Strasbourg, capitale européenne, capitale des droits humains. Remercier évidemment les nombreux députés européens de nombreux pays qui sont là. Remercier les associations locales, le mouvement européen Alsace, les jeunes européens à Strasbourg, le Forum européen de la jeunesse et aussi les syndicats. Je pense que c'est important qu'on puisse discuter tous ensemble justement de l'avenir du travail et du travail décent pour les jeunes, qui est quelque chose d'extrêmement important. Il n'y a pas si longtemps, moi aussi, j'étais étudiante. Moi aussi, j'ai dû me poser la question de qu'est-ce que j'ai envie de faire de ma vie. Une fois qu'on a trouvé la réponse à cette question, c'est quel stage ? Si possible, un stage payé. Une fois qu'on a trouvé un stage payé, c'est comment sortir du stage pour trouver un vrai travail, si possible en CDI. Et puis même une fois qu'on a le CDI, la question, c'est comment on arrive à être épanoui dans son travail. Et je crois qu'aujourd'hui, ce n'est pas des questions qui sont faciles à répondre, encore moins dans le contexte actuel où on sait que la jeunesse est le plus fortement touchée par rapport à la conjoncture économique. Il y a eu le Covid qui a rendu beaucoup plus difficile l'entrée sur le marché du travail pour les jeunes. Aujourd'hui, il y a l'inflation qui rend le fait que de partir en Erasmus va être aussi de plus en plus difficile, parce que si on souhaite partir dans un pays européen où le pouvoir d'achat est plus fort que dans son pays d'origine, c'est encore plus accentué par l'inflation aujourd'hui. Donc il y a un vrai besoin de prendre en compte ces problématiques de jeunesse et d'emploi. Et moi, je suis très heureuse que le groupe socialiste au Parlement européen le fasse, avec les stages payés, avec le revenu minimal, avec la loi sur les travailleurs des plateformes. Donc on voit qu'on a vraiment un groupe socialiste qui s'engage fortement sur ces sujets-là. Et puis peut-être le tableau n'est pas si noir, parce qu'on a vu aussi qu'avec la crise du Covid, il y a des nouvelles inspirations pour les jeunes qui sont arrivées. Le fait de vouloir trouver un travail qui ait du sens, le fait de vouloir travailler pour une entreprise qui s'engage dans des politiques RSE. Et ça aussi, je pense que c'est des nouveaux éléments qu'on doit prendre en compte demain dans la réalisation des politiques publiques européennes. Comment on arrive à retranscrire ces inspirations nouvelles dans la législation européenne. Et je pense que c'est un défi qu'on a tous en commun. Donc moi, je me réjouis fortement de tous les débats qu'on va avoir ce soir. Et j'ai envie de vous dire que vous serez toujours le bienvenu à Strasbourg pour porter les idées de jeunesse et de socialisme.
Thank you very much, Céline. Céline, who reminded us, of course, thanking everybody and the many countries and people coming to Strasbourg today, who also reminded about actually what the S&D group does in the European Parliament in its legislative work, whether it's our fight for a ban on unpaid internships or minimum wages or real rights for platform workers. So that, and also Céline reminded that she remembers her time when she was young and was looking for a job and went through the challenge to find a job that was paid. And by concluding, also looking at the positive side of what maybe COVID brought, also in terms of new thinking by the youth, how sort of more flexible working methods could also be introduced, so leaving us with a very positive outlook. Thank you, Celine. So now we talked a lot, and it will be your time to go to the round tables. And as we said, you will discuss on each of them. We will tell you which ones it is in a minute. Just to say that there will also be homework to be done during this time. So we will ask each roundtable to come back here and report back about what were your findings, what are your thoughts. So each table will be asked with their speakers to come here. So I will start with the first roundtable, which is on the following topics: banning unpaid internships, minimum wages and minimum income, European Youth Guarantee, and housing, also a key issue. We will have on this table Marcos Rossempre, S&D MEP. Welcome, Marcos. So, who has himself a lot of experience in this field. So, then we will have Elias Drey, Vice President of the European Youth Forum. Hello, Elias. There you are. Welcome, Elias. And Chloé Bourguignon from the ETUC, the Trade Unions Youth Committee. Chloé, where are you? Okay, welcome.
Après, nous allons avoir une deuxième table ronde sur l'éducation, les compétences, y compris les compétences digitales. Et là, je suis content de vous représenter Joao, qui sera là à cette table, que vous connaissez déjà. Nous avons également un spécialiste de la Fondation des études progressistes européennes, Gerard Rinse-Osterwijk, qui s'y connaît très très bien en digital également. Nous parlerons également de la reconnaissance des diplômes. Donc ça sera la table 2.
Okay, then we come to the roundtable 3 on very important democracy and active citizenship, like you are also very active being in this room, and the youth tests to be introduced before legislation is made at European level. Very important. We have the pleasure to have our Spanish MEP Dominic Ruiz de Veza here, who is spokesperson on constitutional affairs. Welcome, Dominic. Then we have Sophie, who we have already heard. We have Cyprien Bettini, Vice President of Les Jeunes Européens de Strasbourg. Cyprien, where are you? There you are. Welcome, Cyprien.
Et enfin, la dernière table ronde qui va parler du changement climatique et ce que l'Union européenne peut faire pour vous. Un sujet passionnant, très concret. Ça sera à vous de dire ce que vous pensez est important pour vous. Et là, nous aurons Sarah Cerdas, qui est députée européenne. Et Sarah, bienvenue. Sarah, voilà, qui est avec nous. Également Céline, que vous connaissez déjà. Et nous aurons Tristan Bourisco, qui est président du mouvement européen Alsace. Tristan, bienvenue. Bienvenue. Super. Donc voilà. Without much further ado, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, il faut maintenant qu'on se divise, qu'on s'assoie autour des tables et qu'on commence le débat.
And if I may say to the online audience, please stay with us. We will now go to the tables. We will web stream the first table on banning unpaid internships. So please stay with us and have your say. You can join us also online. Thank you.
Thank you.
Il y a un live là. Pour le Facebook de Youth European Forum. Nous, on peut cross-poster sur notre European Youth Forum. Que Pierre le fasse avec toi. Pierre European Youth Forum qui veut... Yes. So you envoyer des... What's his name again?
Marcos.
Marcos.
Si, je le dirai.
If you send your stream key, yes, we can send the live.
I sent it by email to the email address that was included in the email I received. So sorry for this. Everyone. It's at European Youth.
Just say something to introduce. Please join us here. Maybe we have more. Vous voulez venir ici pour discuter? Banning Unpaid, c'est la provision de stage non rémunéré. Ici, c'est sur le social. Okay. Okay, we have 2 more seats here. Is it okay for you?
Or maybe you can. Where will you sit?
I'm fine. I can stand. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Maybe, juste peut-être avant que je passe la parole à Marcos pour introduire, l'idée c'est de débattre, comme on avait dit. On va le faire. Est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui comprennent pas l'anglais ou pas le français? Oui. OK. Then, OK. Je vais le dire en français. Alors, ce que je vais faire, c'est la traduction simultanée. Donc, quand vous parlez, que je vais essayer les grandes lignes. Pas direct, mais les grandes lignes. I will translate the big lines you say so that everybody knows what is being discussed. We have one challenge, and that is that this is being web streamed, so you have to speak into this microphone. Il faut que vous parliez dans le micro, sinon les gens qui sont online, ils ne peuvent pas nous écouter. With this said, Marcos.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being in this round table, and thank you, my both colleagues, that we are going to try to have a fruitful debate. I am not going to speak a lot. I am going to try to introduce the issues, and I think the best way is to try to listen to your comments and try to establish a debate, a fruitful debate among us. So we have 2 or 3 issues to afford in this round table. The main one is unpaid internships, but also we want to talk about minimum wage and also youth guarantee, and last point, housing, the problem of housing in general.
OK. Donc, oops, can you give it back to me? It doesn't work. OK. So we have, donc, ici, Marcos a dit, il y a 3, évidemment, il est ravi de discuter avec vous. Et il y a 3 sujets principaux, les stages non rémunérés, et puis, évidemment, aussi le salaire minimum, et aussi, ça s'appelle la garantie européenne de jeunesse, que j'imagine que vous connaissez tous. Donc, il est ravi de discuter avec vous.
Merci beaucoup. I will start with unpaid internships. I think that the main introduction has been done by Joao, so I think the most useful is to see your raised hand and start speaking. If any one of you want to share with us your concern, or what do you think about our initiative in the Parliament, our strong position that we have. We have been working on that more than 2 or 3 years, if I remember, every year trying to find a resolution that says we want to ban unpaid internship, but unfortunately each time that we have tried to arrive to an agreement in the Parliament, we haven't obtained the majority, and they have deleted this sentence in every resolution till now.
OK, donc il veut écouter votre point de vue sur les stages non payés. Et au Parlement, le groupe S&D, on a vraiment essayé depuis des années de mettre l'ambition sur ce dossier. Et c'était très difficile parce qu'il y avait des groupes qui ne voulaient pas introduire. Et donc là, la prochaine semaine, comme tu l'as dit, il y a la possibilité que ce sera voté, mais évidemment, ce ne sera pas facile. Mais ceci dit, il veut savoir qu'est-ce que vous en pensez. Peut-être qui veut prendre la parole?
First of all, I'm so sorry for my level of English, and I will try to do my best. Sorry. My name is Pablo. I come from Murcia. My question is related about what Marcos have said, which is the unpaid internship. I think it's a very, very important thing that we have to discuss. But the main concern that I have in this issue is most of the companies and most of the work locals that could give some internship wouldn't amplify the numbers of internship because of the compulsory of pay the person that goes to work there. So how could we avoid this situation? That making compulsory the person that is working there and not lowering the numbers of internships.
Très intéressant. Et Pablo de Murcia demande comment est-ce qu'on peut éviter, parce que si les entreprises sont demandées de payer pour les stages, qu'ils réduisent pas le nombre de stagiaires.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe. I'm a trade unionist from the European Trade Union Confederation. That's a very important question because we do not want banning unpaid internship. Doesn't mean we want to have more vulnerable contracts created or that we do not want the companies to cheat on the topic. At ETUC, for instance, we want to make sure that and is also the position shared by the S&D group and most of the progressives group in the European Parliament. There needs to be a gap between an internship in the same company for the same position. So you cannot have an intern doing the job full time, otherwise it becomes a permanent position. Also, for instance, in the last resolution we adopted last March, we actually said we want to have at most 20% of interns in one company, but that would be the maximum. So no more than 20% of interns in one company. Otherwise, you can just have some companies, startups, for instance, or in media we see that a lot. Companies that just function on interns. And yeah, the idea is not to lower the expectation, but to make sure we have a real quality framework, and only a binding directive can make that happen.
Oui, Chloé dit que c'est vraiment important que les entreprises assument la responsabilité, qu'il y a un cadre décent pour les stagiaires. Par exemple, que ce n'est pas permanent, qu'un stagiaire qui était stagiaire peut directement être utilisé comme employeur et toujours être stagiaire. Et deuxièmement, qu'il y a au maximum 20% de workforce, donc des gens qui travaillent dans une entreprise, et c'est juste via une directive de la Commission européenne que ça peut marcher.
Very short addition to the response of this question. In Spain, where you come from, past year, our government decided to increase a lot the minimum wage for all the workers in Spain. And the majority of the enterprises and the right parties, they say all the time, if you increase the minimum wage, you are going to lose employment. You are going to lose employment. Nevertheless, just the opposite. We have won a lot of more employment. We have now more employments than never in Spain, arriving to 21 million people employed, and all the people who is earning the minimum wage has passed from 700 euros to more than 1,000 euros in Spain. So it is possible to increase salaries. It is possible to create jobs. It's only a question of the labor market. So when they say if we are putting we are banning unpaid internship, they are going to reduce the offer. I think is sincerely a lie, a well-structured lie, because they have the opportunity to offer as much as they want unpaid internship.
Marcos a dit juste en quelques mots que la situation en Espagne montre exactement le contraire de ce que tu avais dit, qui est la position aussi utilisée par l'extrême droite, que c'est pas vrai que si tu augmentes le salaire minimum, que ça va baisser l'emploi. Au contraire, ça augmente, comme on a vu en Espagne, il y a 21 millions qui sont employés et le salaire minimum était augmenté aussi de 700 à 1100 et on voit que ça marche et c'est une question du marché du travail et économique. I would like to welcome Gabi Bischoff, our Vice President in the European Parliament. Gabi, welcome. Great that you are here. And maybe I pass the floor directly to you. We have simultaneous translation, so whatever you speak, I will try to translate.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be here with you. And I mean, what else can you want that you come to a group of young people discussing minimum wages and sort of addressing, I think, the key policy change that we achieved in this mandate. I think that we had a directive on minimum income on one hand, because we have seen that in many member states, in almost all except 3, the minimum wage is not above the internationally defined poverty level, which is the 60% of the median wage. I'm coming from Germany, and we had a huge increase also in the last years, but still there is some room for improvement to match this. And the thing is that we are doing it all over Europe. I think this is also the new approach. We had minimum wages and we have them in 21 member states, the variety of minimum wages is great high. But to say, okay, we have this project, and within 2 years we are all doing it together to raise the level. And I think in a time of shrinking income and shrinking, I'm now looking for the English word, Kaufkraft, purchasing power. I think this is the right signal, and also in this directive is also that we should have more people, especially also young people, covered by collective bargaining agreements, which means everyone that has such an agreement has better wages and better working conditions.
Ok, donc ça c'était assez lent. Donc bienvenue Gabi. Gabi parlait de la chance actuelle qu'on a de vraiment discuter avec vous aujourd'hui ici sur le salaire minimum. Elle parlait aussi de l'Allemagne, de l'exemple de l'Allemagne où c'était un grand succès, et aussi qu'il y a encore beaucoup à faire dans les États membres, aussi pour augmenter à un certain niveau, avec le médian, le niveau des salaires minimums dans les États membres, et aussi que c'est important, comme tu l'as dit, aussi de travailler avec les trade unions, je sais pas, les syndicats, et donc je pense que ça c'est les grandes lignes de ce que Gabi elle a dit. Okay. Who wants to come in?
I also want to take the floor, but to tell you quickly about our internships campaign, which just came to an end.
Can you introduce yourselves again?
I will introduce, yes. So I'm Elias Drey. I'm the Vice President of the European Youth Forum. For those of you who were at the Eye, maybe you saw our stand in the village. And we are the democratic representation of the youth in Europe, meaning that we are gathering at European level all the national youth councils, so the national representations of the youth, and the international youth organizations. For instance, I am the former president of the European Union of Jewish Students, an international youth organizations, but I have a co-vice president who comes from Cyprus, from the Youth Council. And we've been working on unpaid internships in the European Youth Forum for some years already, I think a bit over 5 years. And we just now had our campaign coming to an end. Our campaign was called "Can you afford to work for free?" Let me explain you why.
Juste, donc eux, ils ont, avec le European Youth Forum, travaillé depuis 5 ans sur une campagne contre les stages non rémunérés. Et leur slogan, c'est « Est-ce que tu peux te permettre de travailler pour rien ?»
Exactly. Can you afford to work for free? And the answer is no. I have never done an unpaid internship because I couldn't afford to work for free. Okay, we've conducted a study in different EU member states, and we found that on average it costs €1,000 to do an unpaid internship, and this is just on average. In Luxembourg, for instance, it's €1,800 per month.
Donc, il a dit, lui, il n'a jamais fait un stage non rémunéré parce qu'il ne pouvait pas se permettre. Et il y avait une étude qui disait ça coûte au moins 1 000 ou 1 800 € par mois.
And so now we collected 8,000 signatures for our petition. We are calling obviously for a directive to ban unpaid internships at the European level. We are obviously hoping that the report that will be evaluated very soon in the Parliament will pass. And we call for quality traineeships. That means access to social healthcare when you are a trainee, access to the same rights as your coworker, reimbursements of some travel expenses sometimes, and equal rights to other workers, because there is no minor work, no work that is different, and if you can afford to take unpaid internships, it means that everyone else is discriminated against, especially, and we found this in our study as well, people coming from unfavorized backgrounds. I'm not sure again how you say in English, milieu défavorisé.
Yes, donc ils ont fait une pétition, ils ont assumé 8000 signatures, et leur priorité, et c'est vraiment de lutter pour des stages de qualité. Donc aussi de lutter pour les droits, l'assurance de santé, etc., qui vont avec les stages. Et l'étude a aussi montré que c'est vraiment les jeunes défavorisés, dans des milieux défavorisés, qui sont des victimes de ça.
Can I get extra 10 seconds? Yeah, I love the microphone. No, I want to say that just this week we actually gave our petition to Commissioner Schmidt in person, and he was very happy to receive it, and he's been very supportive of this. So we hope that very soon we see good news on this front.
Super, maintenant à toi, et c'est le commissaire Nicolas Schmidt a reçu la pétition.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bjorn. Closer? Or sorry. Good evening, everyone here and watching. My name is Bjorn. I'm from the Netherlands, and I think we can all agree that unpaid internships are bad. We shouldn't have them. The follow-up question is, okay, but how much would the trainee earn? And in the Netherlands, most of the internships are paid, but it differs on what level of education you have. So we have like a practical education. They receive about like $150 per month. If you had a vocational, you get $350, and if you have scientific education, you get €600 a month.
Björn vous dit bonjour, et il parle aussi de la question, si c'est payé les stages, combien? Et aux Pays-Bas, ça dépend du niveau de la qualité de l'éducation. Si c'est juste une éducation pratique, c'est 150. Si c'est une éducation vocale, c'est 350. Et si c'est académique, c'est 700.
600.
C'est 600, oui.
So, so the problem here is if we can't get a fair number to earn for every education, you also get disadvantaged people based on how they work. And I always say when I talk with young people that even if you're learning to be a street maker, you're as valuable as learning to be a manager from a big bank company. So we need really to look at how much money are we willing to pay each student, and is that equally divided.
Oui, donc c'est sur la valeur des personnes qu'il n'y a pas de différence dans une telle cadre et qu'il faut vraiment investir et voir les personnes pour le travail qu'ils font et pas justement du background d'où ils viennent et le degré, parce que sinon déjà là il y a un déséquilibre.
Okay, before changing or before shifting to another of the issues of the roundtable, I would like to add one thing that I'm very convinced that apart from banning unpaid internship, we have to operate. We have to achieve a change of minding in enterprises and also in trainees in the society in general. We have to be very aware that enterprises, they are not spending money paying workers when they have a trainee. They are investing in training, in education, in getting skilled workers for the future. And it's an investment. It's not a waste of money. Because if they invest properly, they will get back a return with a properly well-skilled or upskilled worker in their own company. And on the other side, they had to know that internships, traineeships, they are not working. They are learning. Because if you want someone to work, you have a contract and you have a worker. If you get a trainee in your enterprise, you get a person that has ended the main period of training, but needs to put in practice this training and learn how to do in the enterprise, and then you can access to a contract.
Marc aussi dit une chose importante, qu'il faut un vrai changement de mentalité dans la société aussi, et aussi dans l'économie, où les entreprises et les gens en général regardent des stages comme quelque chose de positif. Donc c'est vraiment un investissement qu'eux ils font, pas juste quand ils donnent de l'argent, mais qu'ils investissent dans quelqu'un qui travaille chez eux, qui fait le boulot et est ainsi rémunéré. Et aussi, il faut... Qu'est-ce que c'était Oui, et aussi, il faut comprendre qu'un stagiaire est quelqu'un qui apprend et qui n'est pas un employeur comme ça, mais quelqu'un qui apprend et comme ça a besoin d'investissement aussi des entreprises. Gabi.
I mean, we really tried as S&D Group to put the paid internship in any report where we could fit it in, just to pave the way to get it. And I think, for me, there are different ways of internships. You know, if you have a qualification and then you do an internship, you should be paid at least a minimum wage. It's different if you are still a student or are in a training, but we can see in many law firms, in certain consultancies, etc., it is an economic model to exploit young people with a qualification instead of paying them. And this is something to stop. One more thing, if you can, but I will first let you translate, and then I will add one more experience I had recently.
Ok, Gabi says, elle dit qu'on a vraiment lutté très dur, comme disaient aussi avant les autres parlementaires, pour mettre ça dans les textes législatifs. Et c'était difficile. Mais aussi, que s'il y a des stages, qu'au moins il y a le salaire minimum. Ça, c'est le minimum, vraiment. Et sinon, c'est aussi une exploitation des gens et de vous. Parce que vous travaillez et en même temps, vous venez avec vos compétences et en même temps, vous n'êtes pas rémunéré du tout.
But the worst I have seen is how it spreads. You know, it started in academic life, but it already spreads in all areas of life. I have visited the striking truck drivers in Gräfenhausen from Uzbekistan and from Georgia because they were not paid. You know, they worked on their trucks for weeks and months, and the Polish employer withheld the money. So I went there and I spoke to some young guys, and you know what they told me? That this agency that hired them demanded that as a truck driver they work 1 month as a trainee for no pay. You know, driving trucks through Europe, and this is something that is really, really dangerous.
Gabi disait qu'il y a aussi d'autres secteurs où ça peut arriver que le travail n'est pas rémunéré. Par exemple, pour les chauffeurs de camions, où elle était visitée, qui venait de Georgia et Ouzbékistan, et qui était embauchée par une agence qui disait, si vous travaillez pour nous, vous devez faire 1 mois de stage non rémunéré, et évidemment, ils sont allés dans la rue. Okay, time for your questions. Yes.
Time for switching the one
Topic,
because
yes.
we have 3 or 4 topics.
Yes.
We have talked about minimum wage. We have talked about unpaid internship. I think we can switch, for example, to the topic of housing, which is a very important topic when a young person starts end the training period and then starts working. One of the things that enters into your life is, oh, can I start thinking on going with myself or my new family or whatever I want to a new house or a house different from my parents, and they find that it is extremely difficult in some parts of the European Union, sometimes because there is no offer, and sometimes because the only offer that there is on the floor is too expensive and sometimes too undecent to live. Every one of us knows the extremely horrible condition of houses that sometimes are offered to young people who cannot afford an expensive one.
Ok, donc maintenant l'idée c'est de passer au prochain sujet, ça veut dire de vivre et les immobiliers, et la question se pose, j'imagine, Marc s'imagine aussi pour vous dans quelques instants, si c'est trop cher et vous ne trouvez pas des appartements adéquats, et aussi à 2 niveaux, niveau de prix, mais aussi au niveau de si c'est décent là où vous pourriez loger. Donc, qui veut prendre la parole?
Thank you. So I'm Randi, I'm from Berlin. I know this question very well because it's nearly impossible to find only a single room in Berlin from under 600 euro a month. This is really normal in Berlin today. And je vais me traduire moi-même après, donc comme ça vous êtes tranquille. For example, I will go to Paris afterwards, and I know that there in France you can get about 300 euro per month from the state. Even if you aren't French, it is enough to study in France, and you will get money from the state paid for your room. And for me the question is, why couldn't we make this in all of Europe? So to switch it and to make it to a task to the state that every student, every person who makes a formation gets something, some money from the state for the rooms, and also to get lower prices, regulated by the state. Donc, moi, je suis Randy de Berlin. Je connais ce problème très très bien. Et vu que je vais étudier aussi en France, je sais que là, l'État paye environ 300 € par mois pour le logement. Et donc, je me demande pourquoi c'est pas possible de faire ça partout en Europe, payé par l'État ou par l'Union européenne, je sais pas. C'est compliqué, mais c'est quand même une bonne démarche en France. It's a good example in France, I think.
Anybody else wants to come in? Any youngsters here? Yes?
Hello everyone, my name is Miguel and I'm also from Murcia in Spain. I think that it is necessary to address this issue because we young people now are facing a quite difficult situation regarding housing, and it is closely related to the situation we're talking about with minimum wage. And the situation in Spain is that recently a new legislation has been approved and there's going to be like a limit in which the rent can't go further than that. But I want to know which red lines, which limits have the Socialists and Democrats in this regard. How far are you gonna take this situation so that we make sure that every young people has the right to have their own house and to become independent, because it also has an impact on everyone. I mean, talking about young people, mental health, and it is quite an important issue.
Merci Miguel from Murcia qui dit oui, évidemment c'est un grand sujet et un grand problème aussi en Espagne qui est directement lié au salaire minimum. Et en Espagne, il y a maintenant une nouvelle loi qui met une cap, une threshold pour limiter le prix de location. Et Miguel demande quelles sont les lignes rouges de SND clés de ce qui est demandé. Je ne sais pas, Gabi et peut-être après Marcos.
What we can do at the moment is that we can support member states with European funds on investing in social housing. But and because we have no competences in this area, but what I am trying, and I'm one of the rapporteurs to change the treaties, and I smuggled in the Article 153, the social housing. But I have to say, and the fight to fight poverty, also to have a legal basis for better minimum income schemes. But the Conservatives are fighting this very hardly. I mean, it would just mean that it's the proposal of the Parliament, and when we go to negotiate in a convention on a treaty, I think this should be the next campaign of the youth movement all over Europe.
OK.
To support this demand.
OK. Donc, c'était vraiment très concret. Merci, Gabi. Donc, il y a un moyen pour le faire, que c'est de donner des fonds européens aux États membres, d'investir dans le logement. Et Gabi est aussi rapporteure sur le changement des traités européens, et elle a réussi à mettre dans un dossier d'une manière maligne article 153 qui est spécialisé sur le logement social et aussi la pauvreté et le minimum salaire, et c'était les conservateurs qui étaient contre. Et elle a appelé à vous tous de vous engager dans la discussion sur la convention sur ce dossier et de demander ça.
Yes, I was going to say more or less the same things as Gabi, but Gabi is working on reforming the treaties, but I will try to make some compliments. When we say this is not an European Union policy because it's not competence of the European Union, it's true, but not true, not is a closed truth. We can do much things. We can support. We can coordinate. We can encourage member states to do their work. It's the same as it has happened with Erasmus Plus, or it has happened with European higher education system area. We don't have education competencies, and we have pushed the Council of the European Union. We have pushed the European Commission, and finally we have get these wonderful tools. Now we can push the member states to invest in social housing. It's the only way to decrease the gap between the people who can afford a new house and can buy a house and be owner of a house, and the people who cannot afford. The only socialist way to solve this is to offer public houses, public rent houses, but in a huge amount of public houses, because if you offer 2 or 3, it doesn't serve for anything. In my country, as you know, we have adopted this law, which is especially related to renting, but we need to invest to create more houses, public social houses, because in the past 3 decades, the percentage of public social houses in Spain, for example, is not more than 0.5%. 0.5%. There are no houses, there are no places in which you can go to a public administration and say, I want to rent a home. There are no municipalities, no regional authorities, no estatal authorities. And now at least the national government has said that it's going to start, and has promised a huge amount. Let's see, because it's not easy. It takes time to build a house. I am an architect, and to build a house is not for tomorrow. But if you never start, you never got it.
Oui, donc Marcos dit qu'on peut faire quelque chose. On peut demander la Commission, on peut mettre de la pression, on peut pousser pour qu'il y ait de l'engagement de la part de l'Union européenne, même s'il n'y a pas de compétences directes. Ça s'est aussi passé avec Erasmus+, par exemple, ou dans la éducation européenne en général. Donc, il faut vraiment pousser, et aussi, Marcos met la priorité qu'il faut investir dans la nouvelle création des maisons ou du logement public social. Donc ça, c'est très important. Il a donné l'exemple. Et donc que là, les pays sont encouragés à investir dans la création des nouvelles maisons. Who else wants to come in?
I just wanted to add on that from a youth worker perspective. We also have a very important tool that is the European semester that we are trying to reform, and I hope we will work with S&D and other progressive groups on that. In that body, we have consultation, and for example, trade unionists, what we have been saying to the European Commission and to people asking, is France doing, or are other countries doing what they can? We say we have a shortage of workers. For instance, right now, seasonal workers, you won't be able to sit in a nice restaurant on the beach because there will be no one to serve you, because people cannot afford to work during the nice seasons, during summer or during winter, because they cannot find housing. And when we say that, we say we have jobs, we cannot fulfill them. Most of those jobs are occupied by young people, and obviously they cannot travel there and they cannot find housing there. And we can and we need to report that to the European Commission, to the French state, and to trying to find solutions. And this is not just a housing solution, as you said. It's a problem for young people, mostly for young people, and it's a workers' problem, and it should be addressed very soon, because the job market is starting again. but people cannot access the jobs. So mostly because of housing. So yeah, that's one example of also, even if housing is not a direct European competence, we can act upon.
Oui, Chloé parle du manque des travailleurs saisonnières où c'est aussi lié avec le logement. Par exemple, en France actuelle, comme vous le savez, j'imagine, il n'y a souvent pas de gens, de serveurs dans des restaurants parce que tout simplement, les gens qui normalement viendront travailler, ils ne peuvent pas se permettre de payer les logements qui sont tellement hauts. Donc là, il y a vraiment un grand problème et il y a un mécanisme dans lequel, à niveau européen, on pourrait résoudre ça et ils sont en train de travailler sur ça. C'est le semestre européen, un tool qui est utilisé et donc c'est un problème où il faut aussi travailler avec la Commission et mettre la pression.
I think it is a very important point, and we are fighting at the moment in the Parliament as the Employment Committee to also have a strong say in the economic governance review that we are doing, especially to sort of make sure that we have certain money also blocked for social investment. But I think you mentioned a very important point, that if this situation continues, that it's not only very bad for young people because it limits you in your development very strongly, and that has costs for society later. But you also mentioned the point that it is economic damage in the end that will be caused, and stagnation, because the economy needs the people to work, and if they can't afford to work, people will not work, and this will mean less growth in the end also.
Oui, Gabi, elle parle d'un autre mécanisme à niveau européen, c'est dans le comité d'emploi, et c'est la révision de la gouvernance économique. Et là, ils ont essayé de bloquer de l'argent pour l'investissement social et aussi, parmi d'autres, pour le logement. Et il y a des limites jusqu'où on peut aller, parce que si on n'investit pas, il y aura un effet négatif sur l'économie en général et qui va arriver à la stagnation. Donc,
thank you. Allô, allô. Est-ce qu'on entend? Is it good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I want to make the connection between the topic of housing and decent housing, especially for young people, and mental health. You see this place, it's not very big, but it's almost the size, it's almost bigger than the size of one of my first rooms in Brussels. And it's striking, right? But maybe I had as a walking space there around what I have there with the table a bit longer. I had a little shower and little toilets. My bed was a bunk bed that was built above this. Of course, it was completely illegal, undeclared. It was expensive, 450 euros per month. And there was no heating. It was not decent place, okay? It was definitely not decent housing, and this happens in every capital, but also in every smaller city, every middle-sized city. It is a classic in Europe that you offer those rooms. When I was... Maybe you want to translate first.
Donc Elias dit qu'il faut faire une connexion entre le logement et la mentalité de... Santé mentale, c'est ça, exactement. Et il se rappelle de sa première chambre à Bruxelles, qui était vraiment pas décent. C'était illégal, même 450 € pour une petite chambre aussi grande que celle-ci, avec tout dedans. Et il n'y avait pas de tout ce qu'il fallait du tout, donc pas bien du tout.
I didn't spend such a long time in this room because then COVID-19 came, so there was another issue to deal with, and I came back to Paris. But the time I spent in this room, really was not feeling well. I was studying at the same time, but I didn't have a good place to come home to. I started preferring to go out and enjoy with my friends rather than spending time home. And in fact, I hated every second I spent in this apartment. The impact that this housing that was not so affordable, 450 euros is very expensive, illegal, indecent had on my mental health at the time was absolutely dreadful. And this is why the topic of affordable housing and of housing in general in Europe is very strongly connected with young people's mental health. And that's why we need to keep working on it.
Ok, donc il se sentait pas du tout bien. Et aussi, finalement, il est allé à Paris. Mais et quand il était dans cette maison, tout ce qu'il voulait, c'est de sortir. Donc, l'effet que ça peut avoir si le logement n'est pas décent, et decent, je ne sais pas, ADK, je pense, là, ça peut avoir vraiment un effet très, très négatif sur la mentalité de santé. Maintenant, I have to tell you, we have 5 more minutes. So if you have not had the chance to say something, si vous n'avez pas encore eu l'occasion de dire quelque chose, faites-le maintenant. Non? Non? You look like it. You look like it. Non, peut-être? Une idée en tête? Non? Ici? Vous? You can do it now. Oui, vas-y.
Okay, so yes, I'm Anne. I'm also from Berlin, and we talked a lot about housing, but I wondered because in Berlin or in many other capitals or cities, we have the huge problem of homelessness, which also has to do with migration in Europe. And I wonder what one can do on the European level, or if this also just more centered to the national level, and if you have any ideas how to deal with that topic.
Ok, juste pour traduire, je pense que c'est une question pour Gabi, qui gère aussi la question des migrations au groupe socialiste et démocrate. Donc, Anne vient de Berlin et elle a aussi une question liée au logement qui sont les personnes qui n'ont pas de maison et qui vivent dans la rue, et aussi le lien avec la migration. Gabi.
Yes, for this group, we started the social housing initiative. I mean, it will not solve the problem of homelessness, but it is a key project, at least to implement. We had very good examples from Finland, for example, here, and also to spread this, as it was said, by learning here, and to support this also with European funds. But I have to say, I'm also coming from Berlin, and I work a lot with organizations that help homeless people. That in my city, for example, maybe 25 years ago, you had maybe 20% people coming from other member states and being homeless in the city, and now we have around 80%. And this also indicates, on one hand, that we have quite some people that come to work, don't get paid in the end, and end in the streets. But it also points out that we need, in my view, very much, and we will fight for this in the next legislature, to have a minimum income, because we have still member states where you have almost no support when you are sort of don't receive any unemployment benefits and all of that. And I think we need to address this issue, because in my view it's the better alternative, because in some of the cities they then start to fight the people that live on the streets, and instead I think we should make the conditions that we don't have people unemployed, and the ones we have, we need the social housing programs, because a lot of young people are in the streets these days too, and that's really the last thing.
Ok, donc Gabi, elle, c'est intéressant, elle lie aussi à ce qu'on avait parlé au début de minimum income, donc pour éviter que des personnes sont dans la rue sans logement, que c'est important d'investir dès le début dans le salaire, qui ne se trouvent pas à la fin dans les rues. Et il y a déjà des exemples, par exemple en Finlande, où des fonds européens sont utilisés pour lutter contre ce problème. Et Gabi vient de Berlin elle-même et elle travaille avec beaucoup de ONG déjà qui sont investis dans ce problème. Donc, Marcos and Gabi, I think we will have to conclude sometime soon. We would then ask all the speakers to come on stage with us and report back. Marcos, or anybody else wants to have a final word?
No, just a final word to say thank you to all of you, because I think it's been a very fruitful session. I have a lot of comments, notes taken coming from your comments, and I think that these are sensible issues for you as young people, because we are talking about just now and your future, your immediate future. Your immediate future is to obtain your first traineeship, to access to the labor market, and then to access to a house, to create your own family or your own environment or whatever it is. And I think we as politicians, we as social democrat family in the European Parliament, we have to fight for your rights, because we think very much that you have to be involved in the society. If we exclude you as the possibility to develop your own life, we are cutting the future of you as a generation, but of the entire European Union as a democratic community. So thank you very much for your contributions.
Donc Marcos vous remercie tous et toutes et dit que c'est vraiment important les sujets qu'on a discutés aussi, qu'on a discuté aujourd'hui, mais aussi que c'est vraiment important de lutter pour cela, parce que c'est vos chances, vos opportunités de créer des familles, d'investir dans votre vie et donc de vraiment être dans cette discussion avec vous. Gabi?
I also wanted to thank you for the opportunity to exchange, and I will be very short. If I look at our movement also from a historic perspective, we were always a movement for hope for a better future. And I think we have a lot to do here, especially because I think young people were the ones that were hit most by the pandemic. And I think we have to repair. We have to repair this time, and this is why we need strong policies, and we always have to check them, what impact they have on young people for a better future. And for me, as a convinced European, that's the promise of Europe, to create better living and working conditions for the citizens. And this should include young people.
Oui, donc aussi, Gabi vous remercie tous et toutes, et elle dit, nous sommes le mouvement vers le futur, progressiste, et dans ce mouvement, c'est évident de lutter aussi pour vos opportunités, et que c'est très important, surtout aussi après la crise de Covid, où c'est important maintenant aussi d'ajuster ce qui s'est passé, surtout pour la jeunesse, et donc ensemble avec vous de lutter pour vos droits dans le futur. Donc, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much also to those online. And now we reconvene with everybody. Merci.
Thank you very much for this for these roundtables. It was a really nice experience. I would like now to ask the roundtables to finish all of them, and I would like to now to invite to the stage Gabi Bischoff, who is here, our Vice President, also Chloé Bourguignon, Elias Drey, to tell us what was discussed at Roundtable 1 and what are the takeaways. Donc, merci pour toutes ces tables rondes. Nous sommes maintenant, nous allons conclure et nous allons vous donner les conclusions. Voilà, il y a une autre table ronde qui se termine. Et je voudrais appeler Gabi Bischoff, Chloé Bourguignon et Elias Drey de nous rejoindre ici avec Uta et Marcos, pardon, excusez-moi, effectivement, et Marcos Rosempere également, notre député européen, pour donner vos conclusions. Voilà. Donc,
Okay,
on
can
vous
you
attend.
can you
S'il vous
please,
plaît.
Marcos? Yes, if you could maybe, and everybody, also in English. It's great. You have worked hard. It's 30 degrees outside here in Strasbourg, and you are still with us and discussing the future of youth. That is fantastic. We are so much looking forward. Also, welcome back to the stage with all to the people who are watching us online. So, we have the report back from, if I may ask in the room to be a bit quiet. Si je peux demander un peu de silence dans la salle, ce serait très gentil, comme ça on peut avoir notre premier report back du workshop number 1 on banning unpaid internships, minimum wages and minimum income, European Youth Guarantee and housing. So here we go. Donc, I pass la parole to Elias and then we go from here.
Thank you for passing me la parole. No,
We
thank
are
you
in
very
France.
much. No, I have 1 minute, I've been told, so I will be very quick. I will first say thank you so much to the Secretariat of SND for inviting me to this event. We've been discussing about internships, and especially unpaid internships, and why we have to ban them. The reason is simple. At the Youth Forum, we found out that it costs 1,000 euros per month for a young person to take an unpaid internships, meaning only people who do have those capacity can take unpaid internships, meaning unpaid internships are discriminating unfavorized youth coming from underprivileged backgrounds. This is why banning unpaid internships not only is a social measure for social justice, but it is also better for the work, because when you have a more diverse workplace, then you have a workplace that resembles to the society. I want to say also that the report that is coming soon in the Parliament has to be voted. Please do it, the policymakers around the room. I'm practically sure that you are all going to vote in favor, right? But I'm sure you will also fight for other MEPs to vote in that favor, and it would be a great starter so that we can finally have a directive to ban unpaid internships in all EU member states. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who else wants to come in from this panel?
Chloe. Yes.
Okay. We also talked about minimum wage and how we can use the reform of the economic governance to make our point and make sure that we have better living and working conditions for young people. There was a conference on the future of Europe last year, and the SND group and other groups are also fighting to make sure we can influence even on topics that are not directly related to EU competencies. We said that we need to use all the spaces to report back also on how our member states are doing to make sure that social inclusion is included, and being housing, being mobility, it's also very important for young people. I can pass the floor also we talked about housing. I think Marcos is going to report back on that. Thank you very much.
Merci.
And thank you so
Merci.
much for the
Merci.
invitation.
Merci Chloé et merci Elias pour ces mots. Alors, on est à Strasbourg, mais vous avez dû faire ça en anglais. Donc, juste pour dire que un arrêt à tous les stages non rémunérés. On a également discuté de la question du logement qui préoccupe nos jeunes. Et on attend ce vote impatiemment la semaine prochaine avec le groupe SND et d'autres députés au Parlement européen pour voter une interdiction aux stages non rémunérés. Et une directive.
Marcos, please.
Thank you very much. We have talked also about the problem of housing, and we have put on the floor the problem that housing is not on the competences of the European Union, but we are working hard to modify the treaties, and we are trying to incorporate social housing into the next reform of the treaties. And on the second hand, the European Union can do a lot of things. Also, there is no competence. We can fund, we can make funding for member states, we can support member states, we can coordinate member states, we can encourage member states to create social housing, because we know that social housing, a big amount of social housing, is the only way to reduce the gap between the people who can afford and can buy their own home and the people who cannot. And the people who cannot has the right to go to a public administration and ask for a social house to start their project of life. So this is our positionment, and this is what we have discussed all the roundtable about housing.
Merci Marcos pour ces mots. Et donc, il faut qu'on change les traités pour que l'Union européenne ait un droit de dire sur la question du logement et surtout le logement social, car le logement social représente les logements pour les gens qui ne peuvent pas se payer un logement décent. Et donc, il faut absolument que l'Union européenne agisse sur le logement social. Merci beaucoup Marcos. Et merci pour cette table ronde.
Et non, Gabi, first, et aussi qu'on investit dans la création de logements sociaux au niveau des États membres. Gabi Bischoff, please. And it's because many of you haven't seen Gabi yet because she arrived later. Gabi Bischoff is our vice president in the European Parliament from Germany. And welcome, Gabi,
Welcome,
also
Gabi.
openly.
Bienvenue.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And we finalized here our exchange by saying, I mean, really, we are standing on the shoulders of giants, because our movement was always a movement to give a hope for the future and a better life. And we have a lot of projects. I think it's a first step with the unpaid, to ban the unpaid internship for a better life for young people that paid the highest price in the pandemic. And I think for Europe, it has to learn the lesson that it also has to pay back to these young people. And this is what we are doing with trying to change the treaties, have more social competences in social housing, to fight poverty, but also to give all Europeans the right to a decent education. So, and I have to say, I would never stand here in front of us if it would not have been a social democratic chancellor, Willy Brandt, who made it possible, who said all the working class girls from the countryside should also have the possibility to go to a university. I was the first one in my family, and I got a full support from the government to do so, even that I had to pay it back because of a conservative change in the end. But this is what we are fighting for, and this is why next week we really have to get a majority on this report. And as you said, Nicolas Schmidt, as our commissioner, he was very pleased to receive your petition, and we will push him to also come up with a proposal for a directive.
Merci beaucoup Gabi, merci pour ces mots. Je vais commencer avec Willy Brandt, parce que Willy Brandt a dit qu'il faut absolument que les filles de la province en Allemagne puissent aussi avoir la possibilité d'étudier à l'université. Et je suis moi-même, dit Gabi, un exemple de ça, parce qu'on doit aider la jeunesse. Et je reviens donc, Gabi a dit, il faut interdire, donc il faut absolument qu'on agisse. La semaine prochaine pour interdire ces stages non rémunérés, mais aussi pour avoir plus de compétences dans la question du logement et plus de compétences dans l'éducation. Nous devons ça à nos jeunes. J'ai essayé de résumer. Si j'ai oublié quelque chose, je suis désolé.
Parfait. Thank you, all of you. Please
Thank
leave
you.
the mic with us. And now we come to the second round
Exactly.
table.
So where we had João Albuquerque, who is our MEP from Portugal, and we also had Gerard Oosterwijk, who is from
If
FEPS.
someone else from our group wants to come here on stage.
Yes, and we also have, but you asked
Si
then,
quelqu'un d'autre de cette table ronde veut venir, vous êtes les bienvenus, dit Joao.
Voilà.
Alors, qui était là? Qui veut venir?
Voilà.
Alors.
Vous devrez vous présenter. Hein? You will have to introduce yourselves.
OK. Tu t'appelles comment?
My name is Lisa, and I'm from Berlin. And yeah, I'm vice president of Young Socialists in Berlin, but I also work for Gabi.
So
Cool.
my name is Dad. I'm from Munich. I'm a young socialist, speaker of a committee that is focusing on international politics and Europe.
Excellent, welcome. So,
Merci.
I think
Donc,
you have...
oui. Non, parce que j'allais traduire en fait. Donc nous avons deux personnes là. J'ai pas Lisa et Dat qui sont là, donc de Berlin et de
Munich.
Et de Munich, voilà.
Okay.
Et bien super, et qui ont participé donc à la table ronde sur les questions d'éducation, sur la question du digital. Voilà.
Perfect. Joao, you have the floor.
Okay, trying to be very, very brief here. We started to touch upon the European Year of Skills and the need to actually bring skills and how we are going to give the opportunity for people to reskill and upskill. But we also thought that this is not enough. So we started with this topic and we ended up in discussing the morality of artificial intelligence. So we went from one thing to the other. We talked about the change in the educational system. We talked about the need to raise awareness on the digital skills that are fundamental for us to understand citizenship. We talked about access to mental health in terms of education and in the public spaces, on the protection of the access to social media. How do we regulate this access? Lisa proposed, for example, that there should be public spaces like we have, digital public spaces like we have with the social media platform that should be promoted, and we should invest in this. And what I'm going to give to Gerard for 2 minutes to complement what I just said, because we went through a huge range of topics and I'm afraid I forgot something.
Alors avant que vous continuiez, juste aussi pour le dire en français, donc nous avons regardé la question des compétences et comment nous pouvons requalifier ou même passer à un plus haut niveau de compétences, et nous sommes arrivés à la question du digital et nous avons conclu qu'il faut des endroits public dans l'espace digital, sur les réseaux sociaux, parce que c'est ça qui pourra nous emmener en avant.
Please.
Can you translate the question for me? Because
What did you hear and what
your main findings?
Yeah, one of our main finances was that teaching digital skills in schools and universities is super important for our democracy and also, in general for every individual, because we realize that most teachers don't have knowledge on their own, and therefore it can be quite dangerous if students are starting to work with AI such as ChatGPT in classrooms, but nobody really knows how it works and what it actually is about, and so therefore we thought we have to educate a lot about technology and how to use it and also the dangers of it.
Yeah, so there was...
Wait, just...
Oui, pardon. Sorry, my mic doesn't work, so maybe with this one. So, oui, donc en fait, nous devons nous concentrer sur l'éducation des compétences digitales, autant à l'école qu'à l'université, car on se rend compte que nos enseignants, très souvent, n'ont pas ces compétences, et c'est très important qu'on développe cela pour qu'on puisse se retrouver sur le marché du travail avec ces compétences.
Yeah, maybe on the last part, so train the trainer was something that we really went into, because the teachers, they were trained in a different time, and I think also that works for a lot of workers. So where a challenge is like not only young people, because young people, they tend to be tech savvy, and we grow up in a certain way, we learn how to work with all of this. But if you just learned how to use Excel, how are you going to learn how to use AI in your work? And it mixed a bit with the public spaces, because on social media we talked a bit also about mental health and how mental health is affected by social media, how also during the youth event today there was apparently a workshop, Lisa said that, where 40 young people were sitting together about social media or about digital, and social media mental health was #1 issue. Then we need to think as well as policymakers. So we need to think, like, is it really about digital skills, and is it up to the young people, or is it up to the teachers, or should we do something more fundamental and have like a European alternative for all of this?
Alors, est-ce qu'on a besoin, car on a beaucoup parlé de la santé mentale dans le domaine du digital, car nous savons très bien qu'il y a plein de problèmes autour de cette question, et ça rejoint la nécessité d'un lieu sur les réseaux sociaux ou public où nous pourrons discuter de ces choses-là. Et Gérard également a dit, est revenu sur la question que nos enseignants, nos profs, en fait, n'ont pas eu les formations que les jeunes ont aujourd'hui et donc ne savent pas les aider. Et peut-être que là-dessus, on doit faire quelque chose et on doit faire le lien entre ces deux choses-là.
Thank you very much. Please.
One final thing, we also talked about the role of artificial intelligence as well as what threat it could impose and how we would deal with it, especially looking at the next year's election. We recognize that, especially in social media, with the help of AI, there could be launched some campaigns that we also should think about to use the technology, but as well as that right-wing parties as well might use that.
Sorry, can you do that one?
Oui, juste, merci beaucoup. Et la question aussi, c'est qu'est-ce qui va se passer avec les élections qui ont lieu l'année prochaine, aussi des dangers des social media, et comment est-ce que vont les partis de l'extrême droite prendre profit de cela. Donc ça, c'était aussi une des questions discutées. Thank you so much,
Merci
everyone.
beaucoup.
Now it's our pleasure to a big applause for workshop 2. Now it's our pleasure to call Dominic on the
Workshop
stage, our
Donc Domenech
MEP.
Ruiz de Vesa, notre député européen,
Exactly.
porte-parole sur les questions constitutionnelles, Constitutional Affairs. Et nous avons également Sophie Amalie Steyer. Est-ce que Sophie est avec nous encore? Et Cyprien Bettini.
And the topics you discussed were democracy, active citizenship, and youth
Donc ce
tests
que vous
for
avez
European
discuté, c'était
legislation.
la citoyenneté active, la démocratie et les tests jeunesse pour la législation européenne.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity also to report back. I think we had a great discussion. Is this the third? This is the last report?
No.
They have more.
One more.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't to say it's the last because it's the most important. I cannot say it.
It is the most, always.
Always.
Democracy is always like it's never
C'est
the
toujours
first,
le plus
no?
important.
It's always policies, jobs.
Oui.
But I'm very glad to hear from the previous one. I was telling Gabi that there is this demand to put social housing in the treaties because we have yet another reason to call for a new treaty and for the the convention. Gabi told me that she is already working on it, so
Ça, je vais le dire parce que
well
c'est très
done.
bien. Gabi aussi a dit que nous devons mettre la question du logement social au niveau européen. Donc c'est une opportunité pour appeler à une convention européenne et que nous allons commencer ce travail.
Exactly. And this was part of what we discussed, whether it's the right time for for the convention. This was one of the things that we debated. The question of the youth tests, the question of rule of law. We discussed a lot about rule of law, the problems in Hungary, and how we believe that, I will say, or Poland, that for us social democrats it's very clear that this is a democratic union of democratic states. The two have to be true.
Donc
It
en
has to
fait,
be a democracy at the European level, but also at the national level.
international level. Donc oui, donc en fait, Domenech dit que c'est très important qu'on regarde. Donc nous avons parlé de la question du temps de la convention, quand est-ce que serait le meilleur temps, mais nous avons aussi touché aux questions de l'état de droit et notamment la question de la Hongrie et de la Pologne, car nous savons très bien que nous avons besoin de démocratie au niveau européen, mais également au niveau des États membres.
And then there was also, I think, a lot of interest on improving participation of the youth, particularly with citizenship education and with lowering the voting age at 16.
Et aussi faire participer la jeunesse dans nos processus démocratiques. Et donc de là-dedans, on doit améliorer nos systèmes d'éducation afin que les jeunes participent plus.
Yes, I think you went over it really well, what we went through. But I maybe want to say that it was really nice to have such a good discussion. It was really nice to have so many questions and so many remarks from your side as well. As someone active in youth politics, it's always amazing to meet new people who also take their time out to voice their own opinions and to voice their concerns about how we make the world a better place in the end.
Sophie remercie donc à tous ceux qui ont participé parce qu'elle a trouvé que la discussion était très très bien et qu'il y avait énormément d'idées et elle trouve que c'est très très bien pour nous renouveler, pour continuer notre lutte.
Merci. Je ne vais pas revenir sur ce qui a été dit parce qu'on partage un constat qui est commun, qui est de se dire qu'aujourd'hui, nous ne sommes pas assez renseignés sur l'Union européenne et que cela profite principalement à l'extrême droite et aux forces qui sont anti-européennes et autocrates. Et d'où cette question de savoir comment on se mobilise et comment on mobilise la force de la jeunesse.
Yes. He says he does not want to come back in specific because everything was said and was very clear. But it is also about how does the far right mobilizes and how can the youth be engaged to prevent this. So that's the main task.
Et du coup, on en est arrivé à des solutions plus ou moins communes. Maybe I will switch to English.
Non, français c'est très bien.
On en est arrivé à des solutions communes qui étaient d'abord en fait de mobiliser nos pairs, c'est-à-dire nos amis, notre famille, notre entourage, car c'est par les réseaux autour de nous, c'est par le débat, c'est par le dialogue dans notre entourage qu'on commence d'abord à initier un débat et à pouvoir faire en sorte que les personnes se mobilisent ensuite dans la politique. On a aussi beaucoup insisté sur l'éducation et sur le rôle des médias, car ce sont eux qui diffusent l'information et donc c'est très important qu'on puisse les informer, et notamment les classes moyennes et populaires. Il y a eu aussi ce débat-là.
Yes, we have to invest in our peers. That we mobilize via our friends, so that everybody gets engaged among your groups, family, friends, and then also invest in the media, exactly, and in education.
Et la dernière solution, c'est évidemment de constituer des réseaux, de travailler ensemble, car c'est en profitant du fait que nous soyons tous mobilisés, engagés pour une Europe plus démocratique, plus intégrée et surtout plus progressiste que nous arriverons à faire progresser cette Europe. Et si nous ne le faisons pas, c'est la porte ouverte vers l'extrême droite et les politiciens autocrates.
Clear call for action to work together for a democratic Europe, for a progressive Europe. And if you don't do it, and all of here in the room, then the door is open for the far right.
And I think we should add to that we're doing that tonight because we're here from Portugal, Spain, France, from all of Hungary. Yeah, I probably forgot some countries, but it's great to see so many people. Donc c'est génial de voir autant de gens car nous sommes ici en fait des vrais Européens. Donc merci, c'est bien.
Thank you so much. Great panel. I think we also see, si je peux demander maintenant, before I say, I think we see quite a lot of synergies actually between the panels. The housing has already, for example, also discussed the mental health question, which was also discussed on the education and digital panel. So there are quite a lot of overlaps where the different topics interact. Now, the final panel on climate change and what the EU can do for you.
Donc maintenant le dernier panel sur donc en fait où tu avais dit qu'il y avait beaucoup de sujets qui sont similaires, notamment sur la question du logement dans les différents panels, et donc c'est bien qu'on puisse se concentrer sur ces sujets. Et donc maintenant le dernier panel, donc changement climatique et ce que l'UE peut faire pour toi.
Donc, merci beaucoup à Sarah Cerdas de venir sur scène. Est-ce que Sarah, tu es là? Super, Céline. Welcome. Céline Geisman.
Et Tristan.
Voilà. Et Tristan.
So.
Okay, and we have one more person. Who are you?
My name is Ali. I'm from Paris, from the Parti Socialiste.
De Paris, bienvenue à Strasbourg. Alors, qui commence?
I may start in English or French?
French,
ok. Donc je vais faire en français.
Je vais aider avec le...
La question c'est est-ce que l'Union européenne fait assez pour fight climate change? contre le réchauffement climatique. Est-ce que c'est vraiment une priorité? Le constat général, c'est que l'Union ne fait pas assez, mais pourtant, nous avons reconnu que l'Union est un leader global sur le sujet, en fait peut-être plus que les autres, mais ne fait pas assez.
So basically, Europe is doing already a lot on climate change, we all agreed, but definitely not enough, and more needs to be done.
Sorry. And SND is one of the latest group. We acknowledge that this is one of the latest group that is actually pushing for the Green Deal and the objectives that are being set to reduce carbon emissions by 55%. Yeah, soon.
Ok, donc c'est que le groupe socialiste et démocrate est un des groupes qui pousse le plus pour réduire les émissions carbone.
Yeah, no, it was in English.
Okay.
Okay, I may continue in French. Je vais faire en français. Plusieurs solutions ont été évoquées, des solutions concrètes qui permettent aussi d'avoir une idée plus positive des actions qu'il faut entreprendre pour combattre le réchauffement climatique. Ça peut être des mesures assez emblématiques comme certaines initiatives en Autriche ou en Allemagne, par exemple les tickets Deutschland Ticket ou des tickets qui permettent de voyager dans les transports à un tarif réduit, ou bien le développement des trains à grande vitesse dans toute l'Europe, ce qui pourrait être une priorité pour combattre et décarboner surtout le transport.
So what we need to do is work on the train system, whether it's like the one that was done in Germany, where you had a rail card in all of Germany, or the fast trains, to develop fast trains all over Europe. That was one of the things we discussed.
And we had also some discussion about energy and atomic energy and all kind of energy mix that are quite national. Sorry, it's in English again. And the discussion is how can we agree on this mix, because this has impacts also on neighbors that are using other sources of energy.
Donc bien sûr, on a parlé aussi de l'énergie nucléaire et de l'énergie mix, de mélange d'énergie qu'on utilise et comment nous pouvons améliorer ça. Mais bien évidemment, le problème aussi, c'est que ça a un impact tout de suite aussi sur les voisins, les pays voisins qui n'utilisent peut-être pas le même mélange d'énergie mix.
Yeah, so I'm going to carry on. We also touch upon about the importance that it is to preserve our own biodiversity and to restore that was lost. We're actually going to have a very important vote next week at the Environment Committee on the Nature Restoration Law. And this is something that has been a mark for the Socialists and Democrats group. We have pushing this a lot by our colleague Cesar Luena, and we really hope it is a reality very, very soon, because we need to protect the biodiversity that there is there, but we also need to put in place these measures to restore what was lost. We also touch upon other points, and I'll pass to my colleagues.
Donc alors, juste pour traduire, donc il faut qu'on restaure la biodiversité. Nous avons un vote très très important la semaine prochaine au Parlement européen sur la restauration de la biodiversité, c'est ça, j'ai bien compris. Et donc voilà, c'est quelque chose sur lequel nous nous battons et que nous voulons faire avancer au Parlement européen. Et Céline en français maintenant.
Merci. Donc on a aussi parlé de l'importance d'une part de prendre en compte la dimension sociale quand on parle d'environnement, mais aussi le fait que l'Europe c'est pas le monde. Donc quand on fait des mesures dans l'Union européenne, comme par exemple les batteries électriques, si on va prendre du cobalt dans d'autres pays du monde, il faut aussi le prendre en considération et avoir des mesures compensatoires, comme par exemple une taxonomie sociale qui doit venir s'ajouter à la taxonomie verte pour qu'on porte cette idée d'humanisme et de justice sociale au niveau européen.
Yes, Céline said we also have to think about the social consequences when it comes to the Green Deal, and of course also think beyond the EU. So also when it comes to, for example, batteries, there will also be a vote, by the way, next week on waste batteries. Then we have to think, where do the product inside the battery come from, and then think about the compensation to be paid. And there comes in the concept of taxonomy and social taxonomy and green taxonomy.
En français aussi?
Oui,
Ok.
vas-y.
Donc sur un point un peu plus municipal aussi, on a parlé de l'importance de l'action municipale pour l'écologie. Quand on voit par exemple à Paris, on voit l'importance des pistes cyclables, de la réduction des voitures, et on a parlé de faire justement des villes qui sont faites pour les personnes et pas uniquement pour les voitures. Donc ça c'est un premier point important justement pour retrouver des villes qui sont faites à une échelle humaine finalement, et pas uniquement pour des autoroutes ou des départementales qui finalement empiètent sur la vie des habitants de ces villes-là. Et ensuite, ça rejoint un point aussi
Okay.
sur la justice.
Just a second, I will translate that
Perfect.
first. So I'm
Thank
going to
you.
be very quick. You know, so basically, the idea is that at the local level we need to act because we need to make our cities with the idea that it's people first and not cars first. Therefore, biking routes, whatever makes people live better in their cities, that's what we need to concentrate on, and that's at the local level, at the municipal level. In France, we've seen that in Paris, for instance.
Et après, très rapidement, un point plus sur le progressisme du parti dans lequel on se sent représenté aujourd'hui au Parlement européen. La question aussi de l'alliance entre social et écologie, la question de la redistribution, de la responsabilité de l'écologie est aussi importante justement pour à terme avoir une écologie qui est bénéfique pour tous, enfin pour toutes et tous, et pas que ceux qui peuvent se permettre d'atteindre cette transition énergétique. Merci.
So what we're thinking also is the alliances in the European Parliament, especially between our political family, but also the Greens and the local ecological movement. It's very important to think about that because obviously we need to have a green policy which is for everyone and not only for the richest people. So thank
I
you
think that is a very nice word to end. Thank you all for this. Merci beaucoup, Sarah, Céline. Merci. Now, it's our pleasure to call Gabi to conclude this evening before we will have a verre d'amitié avec vous tous et toutes. But before we do that, Gabi, you have the floor. And of course, also think about the people watching us online. So also, please
And before I
send them
give
a
the floor
regard.
to Gabi, avant que je passe la parole à Gabi, on voudrait aussi organiser une petite photo avec vous tous à la fin. D'accord? Donc une fois que Gabi aura parlé, donc on vous invitera. Voilà, mais Gabi, s'il te plaît.
Thank you very much, and I think we had rich debates tonight. We all listened very carefully, also all the MEPs that are here, and I think you already illustrated, I think, the program for the next elections, and I will summarize it. The first big point will be a strategy for shaping politically these huge transitions. On one hand, the Green Deal, and to make it really, as we always say, green from the outside but red inside. That means that we need social measures to make sure that everyone is able to come along on this Green Deal, be it by changing the houses, cars, jobs, certain patterns, but also the digital transition that will be huge, and that we make sure that no one will be left behind, that we embark on the possibilities, but that we, for example, also regulate artificial intelligence, for example, and the use of it. Big challenge ahead. The second priority, in my view, should be saving democracy within Europe, but in the member states. Really, this will be a key issue because democracy is eroding in the world, but also in the European Union. And
Alors, je vais juste, parce que 2 points qui sont très très importants. Donc, vous avez déjà résumé ici les grands sujets des prochaines étapes, je dirais. Donc, l'une, c'est l'écologie, mais avec un cœur rouge, donc avec un cœur social qui est très très important pour nous. Et également, il faut absolument avancer sur l'intelligence artificielle, car c'est un sujet d'avenir.
yes, et le priorité aussi, c'est sauver la démocratie en Europe.
Ah oui. So to save democracy in Europe. In my country.
Yes.
Dans mon pays.
In many countries, I think, and we also have to increase the possibility of participation of citizens, of young people in how we do policies. Also here we have priorities as S&D group, and we will go for it. And the last one, I think, is that we have to be a strong voice in the world as the European Union. We have to be ready for this, because we can see how unstable the situation is at the moment. We also need to shape a fair globalization. We started it also with our due diligence directive and the negotiations, but we have to continue on this way. And I tell you something, we will do it together, ensemble.
Merci Gavi donc. Oui, merci. Voilà, et donc la participation démocratique est cruciale, c'est très important qu'on travaille là-dessus, et finalement, et enfin, le rôle de l'Europe dans le monde, car on voit que le monde est instable et nous avons besoin d'une mondialisation équitable. C'est ce qu'appelle Gavi Bischoff ce soir, et merci à tous d'avoir été là. Merci Gavi, thank you very much. Et maintenant, c'est le moment de la photo, s'il vous plaît tous. Et nous disons au revoir à tous ceux qui nous ont suivis online. Goodbye to all of those.
Thank you very much to everybody, both in the room and of course also online. It was great to have this debate with you. We will come back and engage even more, because it's only now that the young people should have their say. That was very clear tonight, and we are looking forward to engaging both with you in the room and out there for more discussions and a fairer Europe and future for the youth in Europe.
Goodbye, à bientôt.
Maybe
Et maintenant la photo.